Hey, you guys, look, I'm pretty sure if you're on social media, you've seen that report about how AEW has a list of banned moves and things that have to be approved before getting in the ring. So I am taking a first look at this and seeing how credible this is. Now, when it comes to the dirt sheets, I'm not a fan of them. I really do feel like they play a negative part in pro wrestling. So I never really take what they say to heart. But let's take a look here at this list and see what's up. Because honestly, if things are banned or if things need to have approval, that's something that can potentially change the atmosphere in AEW. Maybe it could be really noticeable. So let me take a look and see what's up here. So this list that I'm looking at right here, it says, here's a list of moves no longer allowed under any circumstances that are prohibited for your safety of the staff and crew, safety of our fans, and compliance with laws and venue requirements. Okay, interesting. So it says unprotected shots to the head. That should already be a given. Like, that should already be a unspoken rule, to be honest. But I have seen in AEW some nasty chair shots. And after what we know currently about, things like CTE and obviously brain damage, this is something that it shouldn't even be on this list. This should just be something that everyone should already be practicing. Shots to the back of the head, buckle bombs, blind moves backward onto the turnbuckle, fencing response, and Caesar cells. Okay, so that specifically is going to Bryan Danielson. So if you saw the match with Bryan and Okada, Bryan played off of possibly having a seizure. He obviously, especially as a heel, he knows that he's had issues regarding concussions and head trauma in the past. So he played off of that. I do think that a lot of people were worried. Even I was worried too, because honestly, he was working us. But knowing that there's a concern because of his past medical history, a lot of people was concerned that something was happening to him in that moment, when really he was just trying to get one over on Okada. So if they're saying that, that's something that I could totally agree with, because I was definitely feeling worried for Bryan. Let's see, spitting, blood in the crowd. No bleeding while in the crowd, no throwing bloody gear, tape, or other objects into the crowd. This one right here, I agree with, simply because when we think of people like Abdullah the Butcher, who was knowingly infecting people, knowing that he had a infectious blood disease, you don't want to just be getting your blood all over on people. You don't know who in a crowd has an open wound or whatever, and then that calls for there being lawsuits and stuff like that. So honestly, I could totally get that. However, that does kind of change the dynamic of like a match like Anarchy in the Arena, where they like to, take the hardcore aspect of their matches within the crowd. And after that, they do have no weapons and projectiles in the crowd. So yeah, that rule also would change that type of style of matches. We probably will not see another Anarchy in the Arena match because of rules like this. So if they're banning blood in the crowd and weapons and stuff like that within the crowd, they'll probably not have that match anymore, or that match is going to be like really watered down compared to the others that we've had. Also, they have no taking drinks or food from the guests in the crowd. This is one thing that has always been nasty to me, when wrestlers be wrestling and then they'll stop and grab a fan's cup and take a sip. I've always thought that was absolutely weird. Like, I would never even do something like that. So that's understandable. And also physical contact with the crowd. So no physical contact with the crowd, including not wrestler holding opponent and allowing a fan to chop them. Okay. I haven't really seen that in a while though, so that's understandable too. They also have here, um, they have here a list of things that cannot be utilized unless approved by the company's medical team and the producer or coach of the match. Um, let's see. So, meaning both sides, everyone involved have to agree to do these certain things, and those are spots and bumps on the ring, apron, and outside. So they have to agree on that. So basically, they will have to talk out what they're going to do. And if they obviously don't approve on it, then they cannot use that, or else they're going to be fined. Also, table, ladders, and chair spots in and out the ring only allowed with padding. Okay, that's interesting. Any elevated spots outside of the barricades, including dives and ladder spots on the stage, around the arena, and other places outside the ring. That is interesting too. If they're coming up with something like this, it does take me back to that ladder match that they had, the Reach for the Sky ladder match with ROH earlier this year, where whoever it was that came up with that genius idea to do a Canadian destroyer from a ladder onto tables, and then Dante ends up breaking his leg. Stuff like this, when it comes to these big spots, this is stuff that really does have to be discussed before the match, or not just discussed, but even practiced as well. I know they're professionals and they're used to what they're doing, but anything can go wrong, especially with something like that. So I agree when it comes to like the bigger spots in the matches, they should be talked about or even practice before the match to make sure that things go as smoothly as possible. Let's see. All pile driver tombstone variations, including sit down drivers, inverted poison hurricanranas, vertebreakers. So they would have to get approval to do any of those, which is very interesting. Honestly, the pile drivers, it's always been a scary type of move. Anything can go wrong if not done correctly. I do think that when it comes to that, I can agree on discussing something like a pile driver. If it's not in your expertise to be able to execute a pile driver flawlessly, then it's something that you shouldn't even be doing to begin with. Let's see. They have to agree on high risk dives or top rope move like a 450, 630, double moonsaults. Oh wow, that is very interesting as well. So at least the things that I'm naming right now are not banned, because that would change wrestling completely. This is a lot. So it's great that they're saying that this stuff needs to have approval. I wonder why some of these things are on here though. These are like typical things that you would see on any given wrestling show at any point in time. So this is interesting. Oh my gosh. Another one that you need permission is intentional bleeding of any sort, not just blading. And that right there is very strange because wow, what do I say about that? So for the most part, especially as a heel or when they're doing like more hardcore matches or whatever, having blood in the match is I would say is necessary sometimes. Not all the times, because sometimes it can be an overkill. So I don't know. See, so looking at this list, part of it kind of feels like this can't be real, This is stuff that should already be discussed in terms of looking for approval or whatever. So I don't know where this list is coming from. Part of me kind of doubts that this is real. They also have here need approval when it comes to throwing people into, through, or over ring steps, commentary tables, bell table, or guardrails or barricades. So it almost seems like you pretty much have to sit there and say, Daddy, can I do this, this, and that, and wait for an approval? That seems really, really strange. These are just, like I said, these are all typical things that would be happening. And some of these things are pretty basic, to be honest. If they were to come up with a list like this, if this was legit, everything on this list is on here for a specific reason. Like something must have happened for them to even throw some of these things on. Like literally throwing somebody into or through or over ring steps, a commentary table. Like that's so strange. Also, weapon usage. You need approval. Chairs, pipes, candlesticks, hammers, ring bells, bats, chains, title belts, thumbtacks, skewers, bob wires, and any sharp or puncturing objects, powders, aerosol cans, and liquids. Holy shit. You need permission to be a wrestler at this point. Also, throwing any objects or weapons, including chairs and ladders. Need permission for choking or strangling with hands or with weapons or with spots where you'd be hanging. Injury spots or angles, whether or not medical is involved or called to the ring. Any physicality in the crowd or crowd brawling. And the last one here is any physicality involving referees, managers, extras, celebrities, or special guests. This is a lot. Well, anyway, referees, managers are usually part of the match, you know. Usually they'll have to be in on if they're going to end up getting hurt in this match. So I don't even know why they would even bring that up. But as far as extras and celebrities, I can understand that because sometimes we do have these celebrities and special guests that come and they get a little too excited and they get a little more too involved with the actual wrestling or whatever. So with that, I can understand. So when I look at this list, I think that's all. Yeah, that's all. When I look at this list, something of it kind of feels like this can't be real. This is like a lot of these things that's on this list is common sense stuff, you know? And then there's some things on here that just seems a little bit weird. I just don't understand. One thing that I do definitely agree with is the thing about pretending you having a seizure during a match. Now, it's a very heel thing to do, which I enjoy, heels just being heels. But for somebody like Bryan Danielson to do that is really, really scary because there are people who are really, really concerned about him. And as far as doing things in the crowds, I can understand why they want to be more careful about these stuff, but this is still common sense stuff too, you know, as far as using weapons and stuff. That's why I've always been really nervous with these Anarchy in the Arena matches because it's like anybody could really get hurt if they're not being careful. But then again, when they go out into the crowd, they're usually surrounded by several security that are keeping idiot fans away from the wrestlers and away from getting harmed as well. So, you know, security got to do their job too. But at the same time, it's like, it's a lot of common sense stuff on this list. Some of it just kind of make me feel like anybody could have literally wrote this shit up and said that this is from AEW. I don't see AEW even confirming something like that to be real. And before I go, I just have to say this. Who is back there that is waiting for things to happen so that they can go report to Dave Meltzer or Fightful and them? Like, who is sitting there waiting for stuff to happen so they can go report? It's just so strange. It's like, I don't really understand. If you work for a company and they have protocols for you guys to follow, if there's drama going on backstage, whatever the situation is, as a company, y'all gotta just work it out and keep things within your, within the people who works there. The people who are back there that are constantly reporting to these losers who are just reporting stuff online is really, really strange. Either way, this was actually an interesting list. And I really do hope that they up their safety protocols, especially for the fans and for the wrestlers too, because every time they put themselves out there into the ring, they're putting their bodies and their lives on the line, because literally anything can go wrong. So if this list is true, I wonder how that would really change things in AEW as far as a fan perspective. Like, how would matches look going on from here? Honestly, I don't know. But anyway, guys, thanks for listening. This is an interesting list. Can't wait to see Blood and Guts on Wednesday, because that would definitely be one of those matches that would be affected by this list.